If you are wondering whether AI is enough of a support for you to feel a difference in how your dev team performs, I answer, it's here. And you should notice it by a mile. And if you didn't notice it, something specific is off. And by the end of this video, you'll have an idea about where to look. I get a similar question from founders all the time, especially recently. Can AI actually help my developers? I know it's capable, we use it for different things, but I thought coding part was not there yet. This was a CEO running a $100 million company. On the other hand, another founder recently asked me on a call to make his whole app self-learning, so that AI can operate it autonomously and learn from its mistakes. The perspectives are completely different, but underneath, they're about the same. Is the next step with AI real for my team, or is it hype? My name is Matt Kupczyk, and I'm a founder of Brival, a senior-led software engineering practice. Over the last decade, we've built and modernized software for more than 100 companies. And for the last year, we've been rebuilding how we run every step of that work with AI on real client projects, not demos. So this is not a prediction video, this is what changed on our own projects. One more thing before we start, so I don't waste your time. This video is for you if you plan on or you're running a software, building a product, a platform, a system your business depends on, and if there's a dev team behind it, either your own or an agency's. It will help you find out if they are following recent trends that can save your business lots of money and time for a fraction of a cost. You don't need to be technical to stay on. Last one, before we jump into details, let's address one thing. Maybe your team already pays for the AI tools, but you don't feel any difference. That's common, and it's not proof that AI doesn't work. The tool alone isn't the change, because AI speeds up the steps of building software. And if a step isn't run, like handled precisely and deliberately, there's nothing concrete to speed up. So we see software as built in 7 steps. We've recorded a full video on the subject, and you can find it on the channel. Link is somewhere in the corner. Those steps haven't changed. But first, each one should be enhanced by AI, and I mean dramatically enhanced right now. And second, later on, ultimately meant to be taken over by agents. So let me walk through all 7. For each one, I'll address what it's for, how it used to look, and what changed, and one practical thing for your team that they can start doing tomorrow. Let's dive into it. First, strategy. It answers why we're building something before anyone builds it. The old way was the following. Decisions were made on a hunch or on vague signals, the loudest customers or the competitor's last launch. And meaningful research meant days of work or a consultant's invoice, so mostly it just didn't happen. With the new way, the knowledge is on top. You can have an AI do the research on recent trends, the competitive landscape, what similar products charge. For less than $100, you get a comprehensive report that would take days to prepare. We run these for our own decisions now, and not just for clients. And it works on the behavior side too. Before you dive into the future, you should understand the current state. Jump into your codebase and ask AI those questions. How can I pull numbers on the user behavior? What are they using or not? How are they clicking through the app? That's how you stop guessing what your product does for people and you start knowing. Practical hint. Before the next big feature, use the chat and do both. One research report on the market and one answer on how you'll measure usage. Half a day total. Second, requirements. This is where the idea needs to become specific enough to build and to verify. Like, we are building a mobile app, one where user can sign up, log in, see a list of products, and order one. That's easy. The old way included prototypes, designs, and week-long design sprints. Probably meetings, then some more meetings to make sure it was understood, because building the wrong thing could cost you thousands in budget and months in time. And then you waited days for a wireframe. The new way is the following. Capture requirements doesn't have to be a post-session effort, because you can collect them as you go. And getting clear on the shape and the visual has never been easier. No waiting days for a wireframe or a requirements spec. Practical thing for you. Invite an AI assistant to the product meeting. Then take the transcripts, upload them to Claude, and have it aggregate the nodes. Then put those nodes into Cloud Design, a tool that helps you with the visual side. Tell it, I want a mobile app doing X, Y, and Z, and you get a clickable prototype within hours. A non-technical, product-aware person can build it, use it, click through it, and correct it using chat. No design skills needed. When it's right, it goes directly to the developers as the starting point for the build. It's converted to the code right away, which can be picked up by their AI. Third, architecture. It's the structure underneath the product which determines how the pieces fit together and what decides whether the next change is cheap or painful. The old way, any changes here or any fancy patterns incorporated into this structure were probably too expensive. Structure chosen by habit, with no time for refactoring, the documentation was never written because all of that was overhead that nobody budgeted for. With the new way, that overhead is basically free. Diagrams and documentation take minutes and live with the code. And approaches that used to need an enterprise budget now are on the table for a regular team. You can actually think through options that used to be out of reach. Your MVP can integrate with more than one provider, it can handle more traffic from day one, and you can launch with a multi-platform setup with no trade-offs. Practical note, you don't need to know 100 design patterns by heart. You just need to ask the right question. Open the codebase and tell AI, we are building X, whether it's a screen or a feature or whatever. We see it potentially going in the direction of Y and Z. Can we structure it in a way that supports X for now and keeps things open for Y and Z? Then let your senior person judge the trade-offs. The knowledge is free now, but the judgment still comes from experience. Fourth, coding. Writing software to one shared standard. The old way, the coding was the most hours, most team size, and the biggest bottleneck. Everything waited on hands and keyboards, and when budgets got tight, the quality was the thing to cut. Few tests, no documentation, etc. So the new way, for us, it's an obvious one because AI writes all of our code now and does it better than us. But the real shift is what that does to quality. Tests and documentation stopped being a budget question. The big cleanups that used to be a quarter of a roadmap happen at a fraction of the old effort. So the practical thing is this. Write your standards down inside the repository, naming, structure, how much testing ships with each feature. The AI tools read those files and follow them, and that's the difference between AI as a faster typist and AI as a consistent team member. One honest caveat, someone on your team must still understand the code. A code base nobody holds in their head, at least on some level, is a terrible place to debug. AI writes, but your engineers stay accountable. Fifth, quality assurance, which is about catching problems before your customers do. The old way, test cases and automations existed, but not many had budget to keep them extensive and up to date. So it came down to manual effort. The developer finished, and the tester had to click through the site to confirm nothing broke. Or nobody did, and your customers were the first ones to find out. The new way is simple. Test cases and automations are almost free. There's literally no reason why you shouldn't have them on your project, because testing the app should be documented and preferably not fully performed by a human, but by a robot. Practical thing. Ask AI to write test automations for your critical paths: sign up, login, order, payment. This way, your tester doesn't have to click through the app in detail, as a robot will do it by itself. So every time you finish a change, you can run those tests and the automation will click through the site by itself, seeing if anything broke. Sixth, release, which is getting the change live, safely, predictably, with everyone who needs to know informed. The old way, in most projects, releases were events, scheduled after hours, with manual list of steps, if fortunate, one person who knew how to do it, and everyone held their breath until Monday. The new way enables quick iterations. So the automation pipeline, which used to need a dedicated specialist, now gets built in an afternoon. Releases should be small and frequent, even a few times in a day if you want, and the release documentation writes itself. What shipped, when, and why. Those releases should be boring, and this is the goal. Practical hint. Ask AI to build the pipeline and a short smoke test checklist. The 5 things that must work after every deploy, and let the automation do the checking. And 7th, monitoring, which is about knowing what's actually happening once the software is live, whether the system is up and the business is working. The old way was often flying blind. Dashboards were an infrastructure project, so early products skipped them, and you learned about problems from customer emails. The new way, the cost of integrations and monitoring is marginal. So you have your team expose an endpoint with the application status. Signups today, orders today, errors today, and wire those numbers into daily reporting. You probably wouldn't have paid for 8 hours of dev time to send your daily reports on Slack. But now you can have them done in 30 minutes, published through different channels, customized to the recipient's context. And when something looks off, you can ask questions in plain language instead of digging through dashboards. Before we wrap up, a bonus. 1 question for each step. Take them to your next chat with your dev team, not as an audit, just out of curiosity. Each answer will tell you a lot about how well that step is handled. Strategy. What's the goal of the thing we're building right now? Requirements. Where can I see what we're building before it's built? Architecture. Which part of the system are we afraid to change? Coding. Where are our standards written down? QA. Where do we have our test cases? Release. Can we deploy to production today? Monitoring. What are we alerted about when things fail? A good team will enjoy those questions, and if some of the answers are missing, you just found a step to start with. So, same 7 steps we've always used, because AI didn't replace the discipline. It just removed the excuse for skipping it. Research in hours, prototypes in a day, tests almost free, releases that are boring, and reports that come to you. And that's also the direction this is going. Today, AI enhances each step, but over time, agents will take over more and more of each one. I believe that teams that run a clear process will hand it to agents smoothly, and teams that run on instinct will have nothing to hand over. And that's the part that costs me something to say as someone who sells software development. You don't need to hire anyone to start this. Everything is in this video that your current team can begin tomorrow. The tools are cheap and the instructions are literally here. It takes some time and know-how to polish them, get you through the last mile of building high-quality software, but if you haven't felt any significant difference due to AI, I'm telling you, you have all the tools you need to be amazed with how much faster your business can go. So send this video to your dev team or whoever runs your product and ask them 1 question. Which of the 7 steps do we start with? If this was useful, it's the kind of thing we publish regularly. How to build high-quality software and how that's shifting in the era of AI. Subscribe so you catch the next one. And if you want more, visit brival.co and sign up to our newsletter. That's where we go deeper and share the numbers behind our work.